About a year ago, I knew very little about Wicked aside from the basic based on the Wizard of Oz, and it's now going to be adapted into a movie. Cut to today, and allow me. I watched The Wizard of Oz as homework before watching the movie. I've seen the movie several times and listened to the soundtrack repeatedly in three different languages, have been singing the songs in a weekly to daily basis, had the amazing opportunity to see the actual musical, the Brazilian 2025 production of Wicked in São Paulo, and I'm now reading the book. So yeah, I became a Wicked fan. Hi everyone, I'm Pedro Luferson and welcome to my channel where I talk about movies, TV, games and books. And yes, today we're talking about Wicked. This video is going to be more about the story of how I became a fan, my favorite versions of the story and my expectations for Wicked for Good, which is just around the corner. I'm making this video before Wicked for Good comes out, so I'll be posting another video after I watch the movie with my thoughts and opinions. Plus, I'm going to show the time-lapse of an illustration inspired by this whole Wicked journey I had. And there will probably be a few spoilers of The Wizard of Oz, Wicked the musical, the book, and Wicked Part 1, but I'll let you know when they come up. I'm not an OG fan of the Wicked musical, but the first instance of me hearing about it is because I follow some people who are crazy fans of it. So I began just with me watching videos of people talking about it and how it's an amazing play with amazing music and blah 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 blah. I honestly didn't care that much about it, but things slowly started to change when I saw a recording of the 2023 Brazilian production, more specifically, the whole popular scene. I'm not gonna be able to translate how fun this moment is because there are countless cultural references that won't make any sense if you're not Brazilian. So what you need to know is that I became obsessed with this particular scene. Eventually, I made the mistake of listening to Defying Gravity just out of curiosity because that is the song everyone talks about when Wicked is mentioned, so I didn't have the element of surprise when I watched it in the movie for the first time. But anyways, I was already mildly invested with the upcoming movie, so I went to watch the OG movie, The Wizard of Oz. I'm the kind of person that when I'm very interested about something, I do a lot of research and homework about it. So I knew I had to watch it to at least have some context and enjoy more of what the story has to offer. Plus, the movie kind of assumes that you know the story of the Wizard of Oz, so I felt compelled to watch it anyways. I'm not gonna get too deep into the movie. It's alright, the story is cute, the production design is notoriously phenomenal, the main characters have a lot of chemistry, the Scarecrow is the best character, the wizard sucks, and the moral is a bit confusing if I'm being honest. Ruby Slippers, Glinda the Good who thinks Dorothy is ugly, and the nameless wicked witch of the West that melts at the end. Homework done, let's move on. As I said, people I followed and all the love around the musical motivated me to watch the movie more than anything. And to be honest, a teeny tiny bit of FOMO. Then I went to watch it and I like it. I had a good time. I hardly fall immediately in love with something, but I did have a good feeling about the movie after watching it. Often when I watch a movie, I'm the slow burn kind of person that very slowly digests the movie and calmly grows attached to it, which was the case with Wicked Part 1. I watched many reviews of the movie, both from people who are already fans and people who were having their first contact with the stories to sort of help me build my own opinion. Also, I watched the movie just a few days ago and things are very fresh in my mind. Just a comment, if we're gonna be talking about realism in a musical world with talking animals, sorcerers and wizards, a girl is judged by having a different skin color? I mean, could you imagine being judged by the color of your skin? That is some crazy unrealistic and unrelatable social concept if I have ever seen one. God, sorry. Anyway. I think the movie is, in comparison with all the other versions of the Wicked story, the most intimate one. And I believe that comes from the script of course, but the nature of movies itself. I'm talking about a very specific scene where the literal closeness of the camera, the performance of the actresses and the gentle music all together make, in my opinion, the most emotional scene of the whole movie. No, I'm not talking about Defying Gravity, I'm talking about the Oz Dust Dance. Some people might find it weird and maybe too long, and also that Elphaba would go full carry, but the way I see it is the most delicate and sensitive scene of the whole movie where the main characters find themselves in an incredibly vulnerable place for very different reasons. Glinda is invited to join the magic seminar, but her enthusiasm is quickly destroyed when she realizes that Madame Morrible doesn't give a shiz about her. And at first she doesn't understand why Elphaba would do something like that for her. Then, when Elphaba arrives, shy and hopeful that she might finally have fun and be included, the way people look at her is nothing but soul-crushing. We see all her timid enthusiasm go away and give place to embarrassment, shame and sadness. And she's not even surprised. That has been her whole life after all. She was only caught off guard because of the bit of hope and gratitude Glinda gave her, only to be turned into a punchline once again. Glinda knows that. She knows exactly what she did and what she's making Elphaba feel. She did it on purpose after all, and she feels so guilty. Not just because she thought Elphaba wouldn't come, but because she was nice to her and found a way to give her what her heart desired. Elphaba gave her a gift and Glinda humiliated her. But again, Elphaba's used to it. So in that moment, I believe we have a very important choice that says who Elphaba is. Most people would leave and never look back to the place where everyone thinks you're a joke. I know I probably would. But for Elphaba, what's the point? What's the point of running? No matter where she goes or who she's with, she would always be the weird disruptive green girl. That's who she is and she cannot change it. No matter how difficult or inconvenient it is, she was who she was. She was given a label, a role that she would never be able to get rid of. Then what is the point of running? I'm here already, might as well dance. And using only her weird and undecipherable moves, she says, I'm weird, unusual, and unapologetic. This is me and I'm still gonna be me, even if it hurts. And then she puts on the hat Glinda gave her as a gesture of acceptance of how the others see her. Not in a particularly furious or revolted way, but melancholically and shamelessly owning herself in the most vulnerable moment. Glinda, while watching it all, is taken by her own guilt and goes to dance with Elphaba in her own weird way, trying to connect with her. Trying not to care about her own image by quote-unquote embarrassing herself in front of the others, but in actuality trying to apologize and show Elphie that she sees her and she embraces her the way she is by trying to be as publicly vulnerable as Elphie was. Glinda dances, then stops waiting for Elphie to respond, and she does. Glinda slowly follows Elphie's lead and they dance in absolute silence. They barely say anything and yet they learn so much about each other and the friendship that is about to bloom. Then we have the final part of Dancing Through Life, placing the cherry on top of the whole dialogue shaped like a dance sequence. That scene is not just beautiful, but it tells us how honest to her own beliefs Elphaba is when facing some sort of dilemma or social pressure, and how Glinda juggles between her social status and her real connections. For me personally, the fact that the camera can get super close and literally show us exactly what it wants us to see, that being the reaction of the people at the Ozdas, the most subtle expression changes or a specific angle that can tell us so much of how the characters are feeling, makes for me a more intimate experience as an audience than watching the play or reading a book. But I understand that this is a very personal thing and I'm gonna talk more about the play and the book later. I just wanted to give the scene more attention because I feel like it doesn't get as much love as it deserves, and as I'm writing this, I'm realizing that it may or may not be my favorite scene of the whole movie. I don't know. Another thing from the Dancing Through Life sequence that I realized again this time I rewatched is how unbearably seductive Jonathan Bailey is during the whole song. I was almost embarrassed to watch. The charisma of this man is off the charts. He's such a bad boy stepping on the books. I was like, whoa, he's so edgy and cocky, disturbing the peace and quiet of the library while managing to make everyone fall in love with him. Stop it. Moving on. I'm not gonna talk about every single scene of the movie, but in a nutshell, I like it very much. And as I said, the more I watch it, the more I liked it. But I do have some criticism. I think most of us can agree that the movie could be a bit more colorful. In 2024, when asked during an interview for The Globe and the Mail about the colors of the movie, the director of the movie, John M. Chu, said, I mean, there's color all over it. I think what we wanted to do was immerse people into Oz to make it a real place. Because if it was fake, it was a dream in someone's mind, then the real relationships and the stakes that these two girls are going through wouldn't feel real. It is also presented in a way we have not experienced Oz before. It's been a matte painting, it's been a video game digital world, but for us, I want to feel the dirt. I want to feel the wear and tear of it, and that means it's not plastic. We have the environment. The sun is the main source of light. You see the vast landscapes, you see the air, you see creatures exist there. These two characters that will go through two movies, their relationship with the land is important, their relationship with the nature of this land that the wizard imposed himself. The color contrast goes up over time because that is what Elphaba brings to this world. Honestly, I found this decision and the motivation behind it a little upsetting. Again, it is a magical musical land with talking animals and witches. I doubt that desaturating everything would be the thing that would make the movie less real. I get that he wanted to choose a color palette that didn't look like a carnival parade, because depending on how it's done, it can absolutely look artificial and cartoonish in a way that might look hard to believe or to take seriously. But going too far the opposite way can make a scene dull, and especially in a movie like this, less magical than it could be. Now, 3 specific scenes come into my mind when I think of this issue, and ironically all of them happen in open spaces with a lot of daylight. These are No One Mourns the Wicked, The Wizard and I, and at the train station when Elphaba and Glinda are about to go to the Emerald City. In all of those scenes, the colors are all there, but they all feel distant and pale. My criticism with The Wizard and I and the train station is basically the same. The sun is out, but it feels like it's cloudy and a bit darker than you would think. And the wheat fields, especially during The Wizard and I, look not exactly grey, but certainly not yellow. And I know wheat fields are not perfectly yellow in real life, but from what I've seen in many Google pictures, they look brighter and much more alive than this. And last but not least, the pink on Glinda's dress is so faded. It is almost just a suggestion of pink, that considering that pink and green are the main colors of the whole movie. Thankfully we get more contrast towards the end of the movie, and especially during Defying Gravity due to the bold yellow sunlight. And apparently, just as John M2 suggested, the color contrast will go up with Wicked for good. That's what I can see from the trailers at least. Now let's talk about the music. After watching the movie, then start the not so slow process of becoming utterly obsessed with the songs. Which songs, you might ask? Basically all but Dear Old Cheers, Something Bad, and A Sentimental Man. Those are a bit boring, and I think most of the fans agree with that. Almost every day when I'm alone at work, I will sing 1 or 2 or 3 songs from the movie multiple times. I swear to God, the amount of times that I did the Defying Gravity riff at work, it's probably too many. But the acoustics and the loneliness of an empty office are just too much of a good opportunity to miss every day. Whoa, these songs are incredibly catchy, who knew? Before talking about the play, please subscribe. It would make me very happy and you wouldn't miss out on the new videos I'll be posting. Now let's fast forward to 2025. I had a trip planned to São Paulo and it was announced that Wicked would have a new Brazilian production in 2025, starting in March and ending around 2 months later. But they were doing so well that they kept extending the season month after month after month, to the point that the musical would still be around by the time I get there. So as soon as they announced that they would still do the play in July, I immediately bought my ticket. So I did go to São Paulo, unlike Ariana Grande, and the day had come. July 6th, and I was super excited. Third row, middle seat. It costed an arm and a leg, but it was all worth it. I hadn't been in the theater in like 15 years, so it was a special experience in many ways. The actual theater was huge. I probably looked like an impressionable kid because my jaw was on the floor and my eyes were wide open the whole time, trying to look at every detail of the place, and the play itself hadn't even started yet. Many people were cosplaying and I had like 3 Elphaba sitting close to me and the vibes were great. Then something very upsetting happened. As I said before, I was on the 3rd row from the actual stage. I was super close, but then something happened that put at risk my whole experience. You see, I'm a short guy and no one but the tallest lady sat in front of me. I was so close to the stage I could smell the actors, but I couldn't stay still on my seat because the titan in front of me blocked my vision and I had to stretch during most of the first act. Thankfully, after the intermission, she switched places with someone else and I was so relieved. I even said to the new person in front of me, "Thank you so much for that," and we smiled at that a little. At least the Titan was only there for the first act, which I obviously already knew since I watched the first movie. But besides that, during the first act, I was smiling like I was having the best day. I anticipated that moment for months and everything. The set, the costumes, the actors, it was all amazing. The amount of talented people per square meter on that stage and working behind it should be illegal. They deserve all the praise. Let me tell you something about Wicked Brasil. It is so funny. Not that the movie isn't, but it leans more towards the drama side of the story and the characters aren't as expensive. But I think that's due to the nature of theater and movies themselves. On the stage, an actor has to sing, speak and gesticulate so hundreds of people, both a feet away or way in the back of the room, are able to understand them. They need to be big and loud. On the other hand, in a movie, it can be more about the subtleties and a very discreet choices that only a camera inches away from you can capture. So different choices for different purposes. All good, but the play is just funnier. There is no way around it. And the fact that there are hundreds of people laughing with you about something that is happening right in front of you makes it all even funnier. I'm honest, not even gonna bother talking about all the jokes because there are so many and so much would happen in a single scene. Like there's the main dialogue or interaction happening in the center, but there's also always some actor doing something or interacting with someone, making the scene so much more interesting and hypnotic by making it more alive. I wish I had more eyes to see it all. In the microcosm of just a few hours, the audience creates a bond not just with the characters, but with the actors themselves. Like if we were making something together, they would make us feel all sorts of things and we would admire and thank their performances with our laughs, smiles, screams, gasps, applauses, and tears, acknowledging us, the audience, almost as part of the show. I never realized how alive the theater was. Now for the highlight of the first act, it was obviously Defying Gravity, come on. The moment is already emotional itself due to what is almost certainly the most iconic song of the whole musical, but let me tell you something. Since the first non-replica staging of Wicked Brasil in 2023, Elphaba flies over the audience on a harness, and it is the craziest shit. My heart was pounding as I was writing this. I already knew the song and the movie scene back and forth, but regardless, that was such an emotional moment and the audience always goes crazy. Mira Ruiz, or Elphaba, flies so high and she goes so far towards the audience that since I'm right in the front, I had to turn around to keep up with her flight. It is nothing but breathtaking. Then suddenly I became the main character, so please be nice with what I'm about to say. The greatest thing happened. To contest, I was glowing at the moment. Regardless of the title in front of me, I was super into the ending of the first act and my face was all eyes and smiles, more than the people around me. And as I said, the actors in their own way acknowledged the audience, and during Defying Gravity, Mira really acknowledges the audience while flying and singing by really looking people in the eye. And me, very on the front with the biggest smile on my face, was able to catch Mira's attention for one split second, and right when she sang the line, "To those who ground me," she emphatically points to the audience, and kid you not, she pointed at me while looking at me. I said I was about to become the main character, but no, I'm not exaggerating. She was flying just a few meters away from me, the kind of distance that you know when someone's pointing at you. And again, I was so excited on my seat the whole play, plus I was wearing a pink sweater so it was easy to spot, especially considering how close to the stage I was. I had my moment and I'm not letting it go. Also, when Elphaba was flying, there is a moment that she stops mid-air and stays in the same place for an instant, and funny enough, this place was perpendicularly above my seat, so looking up I would see a pair of green legs holding a broomstick just above me. The first act was done, it was gorgeous and already a memory to hold close to the heart. Unfortunately, I was spoiled about a couple of major plot points of the second act, but I still managed to be very surprised and have lots of fun with many other things. Now I'm gonna quickly talk about two moments that can be considered spoilers if you haven't seen the play, so skip to this moment to preserve yourself. At the very beginning, when Elphaba casts a spell on Nessa's slippers and she starts walking, I did not see that coming at all. The way that Nessa walks for the first time is so theatrical and clumsy, but also very cool. Frankly, my jaw was on the floor at that moment. Another moment that caught me completely off guard was when Glinda and Elphaba slap each other on the face. I was like, oh shiz. I could honestly open a reacted channel with all the faces I made in the second act. I would agree that the first act is more engaging than the second one, but the experience as a whole was great. You see, I don't live in a big city, so having access to this kind of event is far from common to me. That day became a memory that I'll for sure treasure forever. Now let's talk about the book. To be clear, as I'm recording this, I haven't finished the book yet, but I have read 90% of the book already, so I think it's good enough at least to have a partial opinion. With no major spoilers, yo, it is so different from the movie. Whenever I'm talking about the movie compared to the book, assume that I'm also including the play, since the movie and the play are essentially the same story, okay? Okay. The movie and the book are so drastically different that the word adaptation is an euphemism considering the amount of changes the story went through. Aside from the names and social status of most characters, almost all their personalities, relationships, and motivations are different. Without giving any names, there are characters that die in one version and don't die in the other, and vice versa. The events of the stories happen in very different moments in time and often in different orders. Not to mention, from the very first chapter, so it's not a spoiler, there is a whole religion and pagan mythology branches discussion that happens in the book that is completely cut out of the movie. It's bananas. I'm just about to finish the book and I have no idea idea of what and how things are gonna happen. I think my biggest criticism is that in the book, the characters and their motivations feel a lot less important to the narrative, in a way that it doesn't feel like they care that much about their choices or their stands on things, at least not if you compare to the movie. Even Elphaba feels a little toned down. She is absolutely the one character that feels things the most, and we can still see that she is a very passionate character in this universe, but everything feels more distant and not as personal as the movie. The relationships and the motivations are all there, but they ironically feel a bit desaturated. But there is something that I enjoy quite a bit in the book. During the bit that the story is in Shiz and Elphaba is a teenager, her character is different in a good way. She's more impatient, sharp, cunning, blunt, and smart. Not that movie Elphaba isn't that, but the book Elphaba is less melancholic and more assertive. I only wish that she kept this young side of her more alive throughout the book. In conclusion, if you are looking for something similar to the movie with similarly powerful and impactful moments like Defying Gravity, Popular, or Dancing Through Life, you're not gonna get it from the book. Actually, the parallel moment of the Ozda scene in the book is different and explicit. Let's just say that what happens in the philosophy club stays in the philosophy club. Also, something else worth mentioning about how Elphaba characters embodies the social concept of deviation in the universe of the book is that the book hints several times that Elphaba might be intersex and that she does not feel contemplated by the binary categories of gender, which I think is pretty neat. And we see in the very first pages how the propaganda against her weaponizes every characteristic she has, including her gender nonconformity, which sucks, but makes sense in the terrible land of Oz ruled by the despot that wants her dead. Now, which one is my favorite? Movie, play, or book? First of all, this is obviously my personal opinion, so feel completely free to disagree. I think it's clear that my least favorite is the book for all the reasons I just explained, and despite having a great experience with the play, I think the movie is my favorite. The movie being longer than the first act allows it to take its time and have more closer and delicate moments with the characters. Also being able to add scenes that help enrich the world and give the movie its own pace and flow. Overall, having all the different perspectives of the movie, the play, and the book, that I plan on finishing soon, feels very nice, almost like I'm graduated in Wicked. And you can really see how one takes inspiration from each other, but there are instances when the play took inspiration from the movie and beyond. When I went to watch the play, I noticed this in a few moments, like during Popular when Glinda finished the song, extending it just like the movie. And also during Popular, but in the very beginning, I saw the Veronica Gildy, the actress playing Glinda that day, grabbed Elphaba's hand and did the holding space finger tapping, and I was like, oh, I saw that! That was so awesome. Now let's talk about my expectations for Wicked for good. I'm very excited. I bought my ticket almost a month in advance. Just by watching the trailer, we can see that they are going to add so much more stuff. We will see more of the animals, which with the exception of Dr. Dillamon are only mentioned in the play. More of the Dorothy crew, and we're getting 2 new original songs. So we're getting more stuff in as many ways as possible. And yes, there will be a video with my opinion of the second movie and the end of this Wicked journey I had this past year. Now about this drawing you guys have seen on the screen. It's going to be a duo with the drawing of the next video, and it took me more than 7 hours to make. This is the lavender dress Glinda will be wearing in the second movie, and despite the pain it was to figure out the dress layers, the bubbles and the abstract background, it all turned out great. But I gotta say, balancing the blue, purple and pink to make a more vivid version of this relatively pale dress and make it still fit the Glinda palette, never forgetting the pink, was probably the hardest part. Lots of similar colors, lots of lights and even more layers. A demanding and perfect looking visual for a demanding and perfect looking character. I bet Elphaba won't be as difficult to draw with just black and green. And that's it for today. Don't forget to like, comment, share this video and subscribe to stay tuned for the part 2 of my Wicked videos. Bye!